Hey friends, my name is Linda Dolke and I'm a demonstrator with Stampin' Up! In Australia, and today I'm going to show you how I made this very non-traditional Christmas card. I hope you can see it's all glittery. It's got lots of bling, and that's from the beautiful black glimmer paper. I've also used a few different products in here, and I'm going to show you how easy this is to make, so stick around and let's make it together. Hello crafting friends, my name is Linda and I am a demonstrator in Australia. I am very excited to show you this little card today. It's actually very simple, but I had so much positive feedback for it online that I thought it would be fun to show you how I made it. It is very easy though. So let's get started. You're going to need just a couple of products. We're using two stamp sets today. I'm going to be using the In the Pine stamp set, but all I'm using it for is this greeting here. You could also, if you weren't making this a Christmas card, you could also use the Thinking of You from the same set. I'm going to use the little dots. You can see them there at the top of the card. I'm also going to be using another of my favorite sets. This one's called Buffalo Check. Now, Buffalo Check's really, really handy for creating all kinds of backgrounds. It is a full-size background stamp that covers your whole card, although I'm just using a smaller panel of it here today. You can see I've used it in black and white, but you can use it in all different kinds of colors. So it's actually a really fun one to use. I've also got some DSP here. This is the In Good Taste paper that's currently on special, so that's a bit exciting. If you're watching in October 2020, we've got a whole bunch of DSP on sale right now, so definitely you want to check those out, and there's a link to my shop in the comments below, in the description below I should say. Okay, so here's our pieces. Let's bring them in. There's only a few pieces really. I've got a card base. Now, what I like to do is just take a full sheet of cardstock. In Australia, this is A4. In the US, it's letter cardstock. And I'm going to cut that in half and then fold it in half again. So, very easy to do. And you just want to use a bone folder to give you a nice sharp crease, so it will sit nice and flat for you, and then we're going to set that aside. And then the next thing I'm going to do is work on my Christmas tree piece. I've already cut these just in the interest of time. I've cut the two largest, you should be able to see the two largest shapes from the stitched nested dies. Actually, they're called the stitched nested labels dies. I should get that right. But the right thing will be up in the description on the screen. And when you look at these, there's a whole bunch of different shapes. You can see that lovely stitching both on the inside and on the outside. So it leaves us a line of stitching on the, or faux stitching I should say, on both the positive and the negative cutouts. Also, there's just a row of stitching that you can add to something here, and that's really nice as well. So I've used my two largest ones to come up with these. And you'll notice I've already gone ahead and cut the Christmas tree out of this shape here, and I'm using for that the pine wood dies. Now these match the In the Pines bundle, that stamp set that we just looked at. These are a bundle, so you can buy them separately or you can purchase them together as a bundle. And that's really cool because when you buy them as a bundle, you get a 10% savings. So you can see there's some really great little trees in here. Some of them are the outlines, so they're cutting out various images in the stamp set. And then some of them are pieces that cut standalone trees. And there's even a couple here that do like, you could have them to produce a slope or a snowdrift or whatever it is that you're cutting out for your various scenes. So they're great for scene building. Now I have used this one, which just cuts out this shape out of a normal piece, and we're using it in this case because it's just perfect. When you've got something like glimmer paper, it would look great with different colors of glimmer paper. I'm currently using black. Black is in our offering this year, and in fact if you're looking for it in the catalogue, you'll find it on the Halloween pages, but I like using it for things that aren't Halloween, but really it's very versatile. And as you can see here, it gives a really nice feel to this alternative Christmas card in non-traditional colours. So I'm just going to put 4 dimensionals and take the backs off those, and then I'm going to position that in the middle of my glimmer piece. Just make sure I've got that on straight, not quite straight. That's better. And then give it a push down. There's only a couple of things that really, when you're talking about adhesive, that stick really well to glimmer paper. Dimensionals that we've just used, and also glue dots. Glue dots hold on to glimmer paper quite well, but most of the other adhesives are not that successful on glimmer paper, so those two will work well for you. All right, I'm going to set that aside for a moment, and I'm going to work on this piece here. So for this, let me just get my bits and pieces out of the way. I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock here. Now, I have made this for Australian measurements to go on the front of the card. This is 10 centimetres wide and about 7.5 long. So 10 centimetres wide, 7.5 long. In the US, this would be 3 inches by approximately 4 inches, okay, and it's going to go straight across your card, not quite all the way across. You could have it going all the way across if you prefer, but either way, that will work for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use my Stamparatus to get a really good image with this. Now, the reason I like to do it this way is because you can see I've already popped it on here, but if you're using the grid paper that you can purchase specifically for the Stamparatus, it's the mini grid paper. I find it's perfect for this. It's a really, really handy thing, because if you're using a stamp that's got to be lined up really straight, like obviously this one being a crisscross pattern, it's going to look a lot better if you have it straight. So it's easier to do this if I put this on the grid paper and then line my paper up with the grid. It makes it super easy, okay? And then, because I want to cover the whole thing, I'm not going to use my magnet. The alternative would be to use a bigger piece, hold it with your magnet, and then cut the piece to size afterwards. But I'm not doing that this time. So I'm going to use, whoops, here's a dimensional back. Those things get everywhere. I'm sure you guys can relate. I'm going to start by just inking up this. I'm going to give it a good old massage with this is Memento ink that I'm using, but any black ink will do. You just want a good solid black ink, okay? Now, if you want to have more than one go at this, I'm just going to put a little mark here with my pen so I remember that that's the corner that I'm lined up against. An alternative way would be to put this into the corner, but then your stamp won't reach right into the corner, so with that in mind, you then have to cut it into size. So this is the only way to do it if you have your piece pre-cut. All right, so I'm going to bring this over. Now, if it doesn't work first time, it doesn't really matter, because the good thing about the Stamparatus is you can have multiple goes at it. Oh, and I just realized, because my magnets are really, really powerful, they've picked up my fingernail clippers and attached that to them. All right, so I haven't even moved my paper. You can see it's not quite as black as I would like it. Another tip for this is when you're doing this, you may want to make sure that your Memento is really well inked. I did ink this earlier, but because this is a really solid stamp, like the squares are really solid, you will need quite a lot. So make sure your Memento ink is nice and inky. And then I'm just going to try that again. And you can smush it around, but then you still need to tap it so the ink is sitting right on top. If you smush it around, you're actually going to see the lines where you've smushed it, for want of a better term. So let's just give that another go. Some people stand up to give it extra pressure. Let's see how we're going. Okay, it's getting darker now. Now, how dark you want this is completely up to you. You may like it a little bit more not as solid, in which case it would give it a bit more of a vintage look. But I'm going to give it one last try. I just think I'm nearly there, but I just want it to be really, really solid. So I'm going to go again. And that is the beauty of the Stamparatus, is that you can do this multiple times until you get the desired look. Whereas if you're just stamping normally, you only get one shot at it. So I can see there's a little bit more there. All right, last time. Give it a good firm bit of pressure. Also, it helps if you're not using a, this is a demountable table, and it's better if you're working on a solid table, but I don't have one of those. So there we go. Now I'm happy with that. Okay, so it's really starting to get nice and black now. Okay, I'll pop that to one side. Now, we're just about ready to put this whole thing together. We haven't done our greeting yet, but that's okay. So I've got this is where this is going to go, and then I've got this piece of In Good Taste wooden DSP. Now it's the same width, and I've made it around about an inch wide. Not quite an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And it's going to go like that, butt up against that one. Okay, so I do want to do the top, and I have got a stamp here for that. Where is it? Okay, here we are. So I'm just going to bring in this one. I'm using Memento for this as well, and I'm just going to lightly tap it, and so it kind of looks, you know, it kind of reminds me of stars. The secret with these is don't push too hard onto the Memento, because you don't want to pick up extra ink in between the dots, which will give you a really messy look. I think that's going to be enough. Let's see. Yep, that's enough. Okay, so I'm going to now use my seal, and I'm going to, the way I like to use seal, first of all, I check that it's sticky, make sure that I'm getting a bit of stick there at the start, and then I just go very slowly with it. I don't go too fast, and I lift it at the end. And I find it works really well if you do that. So start down low, go slow, low and slow, and then lift at the end. And then I always do the short sides, and a little bit more there, and then just a little bit more along the long sides. And I'm just going to line this one up next to the other. So it's about just over an inch, or a couple of centimeters from the top. We're covering that there. And then I'm going to get this one. This is the same width. So I'm just going to run this. Just remember to go slow and lift, low and slow and lift. I was very frustrated when I first got the seal, because I was trying to use it like a snail and that didn't work so good for me. So now this is going to go right about here. I want this to be up a little bit, so I've got room down here for my sentiment. So I'm going to actually put this on dimensionals. One of the advantages of putting dimensionals on underneath your project is you can slide things in underneath. So even though I did this with the words here, I added them later and I just slid them up under a little bit. Whereas if I had glued it down, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Okay. Just centering that. There we go. Now I've got this little bit of, it's a 1/2 inch wide strip, and around about, probably about 3.5 centimeters, sorry, 3.5 inches long, or it's about 8 to 8.5 centimeters long. And I'm going to use my Season's Greetings. But like I said, you could go with Thinking of You too if you didn't want this to be a Christmas card. Although the tree is kind of Christmassy, isn't it? But the colours really aren't. Excuse me, the back of my head. I'm going to pop this in the middle of my little strip. Happy with that. And then I'm going to use the new Pick a Punch banner Pick a Punch. This is great, this punch. It's got these two great ends on it, and I tend to do a lot of flagging of my pieces, and I find this works really, really well for me. So I'm just making sure it's in the center. Yep, it's good. And then I'm going to go, whoops, make sure you pick the same end both times. It's not so good if you don't. Yep, that looks good. happy with that. Now I've also got a little sponge dauber here, and I'm just going to go in with my Crumb Cake ink, which is the same colour as the Crumb Cake cardstock. One of the things I do love about the Stampin' Up! Products is the way everything matches. So your colours all match. So you haven't got to go looking for a colour to match cardstock, because they create that. They make sure that there is everything in a colour, like a colour family, if you like. So you have an ink colour, you'll have cardstock, you'll have ink, you'll have ribbons, you'll have possibly alcohol markers, a whole bunch of different things that all match each other, but in the same colour. Embellishments, all kinds of things. So you haven't got to go looking and trying to work out what works and what doesn't. I'm just going to run a line of seal behind here, and then I'm just going to pop that, just making sure I've got that centered. It's pretty good. Right, the very last thing I need is some gold cord to finish this off. So this is the gold cord from the bundle that includes the Shaded Spruce wide ribbon, and it's actually a beautiful pack. I'll put the number and the details of that up on the screen for you. But I love this gold cord. It's easy to work with, and you can see it ties really nicely. So to attach it, I'm going to use a glue dot. Glue dots are great for attaching bows if ever you need to. Just pop it on to the glue dot, take it off, the glue dot comes with it. I'm just going to pinch it so that it rolls back on itself and can't be seen. And then I'm just going to position that right there in the middle. Oh, and we'll need to grab some ribbon scissors to snip these off. And I can decide as I go how long I think they should be. There we go. Goodness, that was pretty quick and easy, wasn't it? So there you go. We've got two really, really pretty non-traditional cards, and I think they work really, really well for Christmas. So I hope you like them. We've used the black glimmer paper, we've used the beautiful In the Pines dies, we've used the buffalo check, and we've used the In the Pines stamp set. So simple and easy card, just using a few products, and of course that In Good Taste DSP that gives it a real, I think, a real masculine or a really earthy kind of a feel with that wooden panel. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it for you, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.